Alright, what's going on guys? Percy TCG here. I have a quick announcement I want to make. We're creeping up on 500 subscribers. As of recording this, we're at 261. So, with that being said, I want to give back to the community. I want to hand out a blue starter deck. I believe by that time, we should be able to hit 500 subscribers. To enter, all you got to do is hit the subscribe button. And make sure you leave a comment down on this video. You have to comment on the video. If you do not comment on the video, it will not enter you into the giveaway. Alright, what's going on guys? Percy TCG here. And today we're going to be talking about a little bit of the lore behind Battle Spirits Saga. Kind of what's going on in the background of the card game. Kind of, the little controversies and things going on between the spirits and the things that's going on between the what they call continents. So first we're gonna go over red. So basically with red, right, you have the star dragons, the pterosaurs, and the dragonoids, right? So the star dragons are basically like the police of the entire world. They enforce the laws by the higher ups, and they kind of just go around continent to continent enforcing the laws that are placed upon the world. The Dragonoids are kind of supporters of the Star Dragons. They're kind of the backing behind them. And then the Pterosaur, they're mostly just kind of off on their own. They don't want to really be messed with. They don't want to mess with anything that's going on. They kind of just stay off on their own part of the island without, kind of messing with anything. If you mess with the pterosaurs, basically they're gonna defend their battleground, and they will definitely retaliate. Now with purple, more of a classy realm, more of a rich versus poor type of continent. The Star Dragons are definitely coming and messing with them a lot, and they're trying to enforce the laws and police them as the central government has told them to do, but they don't do a very good job of doing so. So they kind of just go about their business and just make the poor basically like the slaves, and like the working class. They do everything for the rich, all that stuff. Basically just having poor faith in a lot of things, just bribing, having secret research, and things like that. Very sketchy things go on this continent. It's no surprise that Star Dragons are always in their business trying to mess with whatever they got going on. Now, as for white, so it seems that a lot of technology was left behind by some type of alien presence. They have such advanced technology and things like that, they have no way to replicate what was created. They've tried and tried and tried, but they just can't understand it. They can't create it. They can't engineer it. It's very, very, very advanced. They're very, very lawful and obedient. They just follow what the government says, unless one of the princesses say otherwise. And usually when the princesses say otherwise, the government doesn't try to interject in what the princess says, because they don't want the problems to come out. Now as for yellow, yellow's kind of just a easygoing, not really concerned with what's going on in the outside world, kind of just having fun, doing what they want to do. They do get very aggravated and very irritated when someone tries to harass them or try to come between them and fun. They're basically just like, oh well, we're just gonna frolic in the daisies while you guys are going through this war, and the government didn't know how to control them at first, and then the government just decided it's best just to leave them alone, because they're going to do what they want regardless. They're gonna get mad. They're gonna get irritated if you try to mess with them in any way, try to intervene, which is probably best. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we'll leave them alone, and they won't cause any harm or any trouble, and they'll just leave everyone else alone. So in nearly 250 years, basically they all came together and created one governing body. They call that the Empire, and it brought a lot of peace to the realms and everything like that. But over time, it started to lose the peace, and things started not feeling so unified. And so basically, these cores started raining down from the sky. These are known as soul cores. A majority of spirits struck by the mysterious objects died from an inordinate influx of energy. These showers of stellar objects falling to Earth were soon aptly named Star Havoc Rains. Like any other rain, they fell frequently, and without any discernible pattern or regularity. In the midst of that confusion, troops from the realm of gloom invaded. The realm of flame without warning, they declared sovereignty from the Empire, calling themselves the Phantasm Art Kingdom. It was a natural disaster followed by one of the denizens' own making. Together, these calamities marked the first of an era of historically unprecedented chaos. So, what essentially happened is these soul cores started raining from the sky, and Purple decided, okay, well, while all this is going down, we're going to go ahead and invade Red. Basically, they're going to take over the police of the Empire. And basically, making themselves their own little faction, I guess you could call it, called the Phantasm Art Kingdom. So, with that happening, the Star Dragon's reputation plummeted, and they were once looked at as Imperial envoys, but the defeat of the Phantasm Art Kingdom serpents left them looking very down. Things were not looking very good. A lot of the spirits had fled the island, and others had went underground and started to serve the ancient dragons. Basically, Purple was kind of just taking over the Red Island. Um, there's not really anything said about what goes on with the pterosaurs. It kind of just says that they started invading. The dragonoids and star dragons were both, they took a hit and they fled or they hid, and there's nothing really said about pterosaur. I'm assuming Purple kind of just left pterosaur alone, knowing how they were. They just wanted to be left alone. They didn't want to mess with anyone. So this comes to the Phantasm Art Kingdom Declaration of Sovereignty in the 250 years of the Imperial rule, and they wanted to do their own thing. They wanted to be their own leaders. They didn't want to listen to anyone. Um, they disregarded all manner of local customs and authority. They pushed the boundaries of tyranny. Indigenous populace became little more than slaves. The invaders were driven by more than simply anti-imperialism, and they swallowed up one corner of the realm of flame in desire for conquest. So they didn't mess with pterosaur. They just kind of went on about their business. Just kind of took a corner, and they kind of took some of the soul cores that were laying around. And then with the leadership within the Phantasm Art Kingdom remains fundamentally reckless, and many of them feel strongly inclined to abandon territory should their own well-being ever come into question. So nobody's really willing to risk their life for this, but they're willing to go to war apparently. Interesting. So now this is where things get interesting. So White started to claim independence from the imperial government. They started to distance themselves. I'm not going to say they claimed independence, but they started distancing themselves for sure, and they and if you want to know whose idea it was to speak up against the imperial governance, it was the princesses, obviously, because that's the only leadership in the white area is the ice princesses. So, like they said earlier, imperial governance does not like to interfere with what the princesses say because they don't want to cause some type of war. To see the previously silent, nonpartisan body of spirits step into the public eye, like that speaks to the horrible degree of misfortune wrought on the realm by star havoc reigns. But it is clear that they were not trying to be aggressive towards the government that was in place. That was not the intention of anyone. They were just following what the princess said. They didn't ever question it, and they just do what she says. So for yellow, I'm just going to read off what it says just because it's such a good read and it's very entertaining. So, following the onset of Star Havoc reigns, there was no greater tragedy for the realm's inhabitants than the loss of their long awaited sports competition, which they were forced to cancel as a result. In all honesty, dealing with the Empire and its long litany of demands pales in comparison. And while citizens in some far corner of the world may be clamoring about independence, such wasteful exertions make little sense to the locals. The real hot topic revolves around trying to determine when their sports competition can be rescheduled. By the way, it is rumored that some penguin discovered an object which is an exact match for those soul cores that came raining down. The painful pelting they inflict was unfortunate, but the real disappointment came from their poor culinary value. Much to their dismay, many denizens have realized it is better to shelve their hopes and find shelter rather than go on suffering from the Star Havoc rains while they wait for them to let up. So, pretty much, to summarize it, Yellow, they were more upset about a sports competition than the Star Havoc reigns and everything that was going on around them. They didn't care about any of that. Um, they were mad because their sports competition was had to be rescheduled, which is funny because that it really they meant it when they said they don't like being messed with in any way, shape, or form. Just leave them alone. Um, and then they discovered those soul cores that we were talking about earlier that were raining down, and they tried to eat them, and they were disappointed with how they tasted. So, um, yellow is definitely one of my more favorite in the lore, honestly. So now we have the introduction of green. Green, basically, they're these pretty much badasses that just they're self-governed. They don't worry about what the upper government has to say, but as long as the denizens swear obedience, basically the denizens have to listen to what they say. So basically, they're governed still, but eh, they're self-governed. Basically, they can make their own laws, but they have to if they do something out of order, the upper government can step in. Still, is how I interpret that. But all is well in the Empire's eyes. They don't see a big problem with it or anything like that. But they live this nomadic lifestyle, and it really takes a hit on their progression as a society. They definitely are behind when it comes to technology. When it comes to everyone else is pretty far ahead. They're kind of more the old school, bow and arrow, swords, nunchucks type of thing. Um, and with what they're hearing that's going on, all the commotion and everything, they already see the Void Lord coming. Like they already see this coming. Um, they're already prepared for what's going to happen. So now this takes us to year 252 of the Imperial calendar. So the chaos started expanding even further. Things started getting crazy, out of control. While the nature was busy sowing tragedy with its Star Havoc reigns, and spirits were doing similarly in the name of the Phantasm Art Kingdom, the world was struck by an entirely new catastrophe: the reappearance of the Void Lords. So, last seen before the founding of the Empire, according to legends, these nearly mythical monsters arrived without warning. Given a year, the denizens had learned to cope with the falling Star Havoc rains, which possessed no will of their own. And war brought on by the Phantasm Art Kingdom had only one purpose, which was domination. The spread of utter destruction held no interest for them. The Void Lords, however, were different. While their intention remained a mystery, they did not appear to include the world's survival, as everything became a target for devastation. Though even the Star Havoc rains paled in comparison to this new menace, one spirit would come to the world's rescue: Tokiwa, the God-Slayer hero. Spirits from across the realm rallied around Tokiwa in a cooperative effort to oppose the Void Lord threat. So, just to summarize a bit, basically, the Void Lords appeared after year 252, after everything started to get worse and things got chaotic. Um, all Purple was worried about the Phantasm Art Kingdom. They just wanted to take everything over. They didn't care. They just wanted to keep going. Um, everyone was after the Void Lords came. Everyone was like kind of froze and didn't know what to do. And they're basically banking on Tokiwa, the Godslayer hero, which they have to work with him to destroy the Void Lords. So that's all we have for the lore. Hope you guys enjoyed. It's a pretty good story. I definitely like Yellow. They're pretty funny. Let me know what you guys like about the lore, what you want to see happen, you know? So, hope you guys have a blessed day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.